All right, good morning, everybody. We are back today with our class. So, all jokes aside, and not to be considered sarcastic, I want everyone to truly understand the point and all the points of all of these classes that I've put up, right? So, this is like our 86th episode. Right? So I put up more episodes than any camp can do in a year with Shabbat class. Right? I put up more episodes in 2 months. And I'm just going straight through. And this is just a warm up. I'm getting ready to start, really exercising, showing you the practice of judgment. And the purpose is to improve and to give you reasoning. It's a judgment exercise. It is for you to know and understand what are the guaranteed outcomes of choices. A lot of people talk and think, but they don't have the ability to reason. They don't know the outcome of a decision. Like people say 1 + 1 = 2. That sounds absolutely fantastic, right? That sounds fantastic, right? But to understand what that 2 actually is, you have to have some reasoning. And what happens is everybody understands the principle of 1 and 1 make 2. But in practicality, they don't know what that outcome means, right? So if a man and a woman have sex, the product of that activity is a child. You can try to avoid it, you can try to reduce it, but the general point of this is to make children. Making children is pleasurable. It's supposed to be to encourage you to make children. Right? Instead, you have this activity and people are chasing the side effects. The pleasure release, the stress release, the self-enjoyment, and forgetting that all of those side effects are not the intended purpose of the activity.
Right.
So you're missing the 2 because you don't have the reasoning, right? The reasoning is I'm supposed to build a family, and this is supposed to be kept between a covenanted partnership, right? I'm going to have this man's child, and we're going to build a family. So we're going to enjoy this activity, whether we make children or not, because when the children come into this situation, we have all of our business in order as far as our covenant bond, meaning I know he's going to take care of me and the child, and I am committed to him. That's how it goes, but we lack reasoning, right? I'm not saying you're unreasonable. You lack the known outcomes of certain decision. You don't know what they are. So you're guessing, you're hoping for a desired outcome without knowing what the practice is. You understand?
I sure do.
So this is why I'm reading you the law, telling you what the outcomes of specific decisions are, what the rules are that govern the entirety of creation. So if you know what the rules are of creation and how you're supposed to move, then you're guaranteed a specific outcome. This has nothing to do with speaking the rules as if, reading this book and saying what the book says guarantees you that outcome. That's not how this works. That is divination. That would make it a book of magic, a book of spells. That is not how it works. This book is simply explaining, should you come into contact with this action from another person, the proper response would be one thing or the other. And that outcome of that decision, whether you go one way or another, it tells you whether it be a blessing or a curse.
An instruction manual.
Right. It's to help you know, like, when you see this, this is always the outcome of it. Even if it is a delayed punishment, right? You get with an adulterous woman or a whorish woman or a harlotess woman, your outcome is going to be the same.
Right, it doesn't change.
If you become an adulterous or harlotess woman, your outcome will be the same. It doesn't change. You can avoid facing it, you can avoid looking at it, you can do it today and feel like you didn't suffer in the next moment, the next day when you wake up. But the problem is, now that you've convinced yourself that this behavior is okay, you begin to understand as time goes on how it closes in on you, and suddenly you look up, time has passed, that season has ended, and you have not gotten the thing which you truly desired.
You know, Rabbi Shay, for example, with my own self, I had lacked rules, I had lacked the law, I had lacked the discipline coming up in my life. And because of that, what has been written in the law that will be with that absence, I suffered, and which we all do, the consequences of that. You know, I live with MS. That is death. Why? Because I was an adulterous woman, whoring around. I just got to keep it real. Yes, I was in search of wanting to have family, wanting to be married, but because I did not have the rules of how to walk in that, I made these bad choices and decisions. So what happened in the midst of that? I walk with death, which is MS. There is no cure, they say, for this. This can take your life at any time. So when I was diagnosed with it, at first it was hard to accept. But then when I began to examine and dig deeper, I recognized that this came from Allah. And that He used this to bring me in line and to His will, to His law, to gain and understand His rules. And yes, I've read, the scriptures, the ISR, all these other translations, reading the law over and over and over. I was getting a bit of a sense, but I didn't have the fullness of it until now. Now that I have come into This law, written by our uncle Jonathan, I now are starting to experience life one day at a time, receiving my atonement for my guilt because of my confession and acknowledging, but it's been a process. But at the end of the day, what the law states will be based off of your actions. It's going to be. You can't escape it. You know what I mean? So this is something that I have really have come to learn and embrace and to accept, but also be able to share with those that are watching that you don't escape the death because you don't know. The death is still going to follow you, whether you know it
Or not.
or not.
And again, most people don't believe they will face death until they come face to face with the reality of dying. Now, you don't have to get that far. If you're not one of
No.
those people, okay, maybe you don't need to test it. That's wonderful. Okay? And again, my sister here, she's new to the study. I am in my 8th year, and I'm still finding and applying new things. Okay? Understanding the law, understanding the mastery is a day-to-day process. It's an open book test. It's not a mystery. It's not something that has to be memorized, but there is a culture that just kind of keeps you like 90% right. So if you get in the culture, you're gonna find yourself in the 90% area, right? And just culturally. But if you don't have this culture, and when I say this culture, I mean there's an actual culture here that you have to move into and take part in. There is an Abrahamic culture. It doesn't come from Africa, neither is it in Africa. You cannot carry a culture away from a land and keep it. You can keep elements.
Right, but you can't keep
You
it.
can't keep the culture.
Right. Because it's going to get tainted.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
America is America. You won't find America no place else in the world. And the problems that America has is strictly an American thing. In other countries, they don't have the American issues. It's not the same. As a matter of fact, when they hear about what's actually going on in America, they are shocked and appalled because they can't believe that that actually exists. The culture doesn't move. It's in a location. The culture is attached to the land. You move, you can add an influence to the culture. You can add something new, a new flavor or something, but you're not going to change the culture of the country you're coming to.
Right.
So if you go to Africa, I'm telling you right now, go to Africa, you're not going to see American culture in Africa. Neither are they going to change. You can forget about it. They've got their own plan.
Right.
If you don't know what their plan and what their agenda is, I don't care what you hoping for. You about to run right into
A trap.
a snail like you have never seen because you don't have your expectancy is that this is set up for you to succeed. That's a selling point. It's not the reality. Anything that is truly set up for you to succeed requires you to build it from the ground up with whatever group or leadership that's set up for you to build everything from the ground up. If you go into any type of establishment, it is already pre-established.
Right.
So I'm just trying to help you all get some reasoning, because once you get a certain level of understanding, and there will be those who come who will attain king and prince level understanding of how the world works, you'll be able to see through moves, right? The war has started. World War III has begun. And, I know some of you may or may not believe it, but if a full mobilization has set out in Ukraine from the Russian side, there's a full mobilization on the EU side, on the NATO side. And you're saying, they didn't say it on the news yet. Well, they're not going to tell you on the news. Why would they tell you? What level of clearance do you have? What level of authority you have? You have none. So they're not going to tell you that it's begun, right? They don't want to send you into a panic. You should be working. You should continue to pay your taxes. You should continue in whatever. And whatever comes out of it, and when it comes to you, if they do give you a warning, it'll be last minute. If they give you a warning,
Right.
they're not obligated. They are not obligated. These people are not public servants. They don't serve you the public.
Right.
I'm just telling you, they have their own plan. And with this starting now, I'm telling you, it won't be too much longer before, it sucks everything and everyone in, and everybody is going to be touched. You know what I'm saying? Like this, we're not excluded. Just because I'm here, I may survive. I still have to accept the loss of loved ones that may come of this or will come of this, because it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed to take your sons. I've already served, so I'm telling you, because I did my time. I did my time when I'm out, right? I'm not of eligibility anymore. I'm not even there for them to even get me.
Right.
By the time they come to get you, it is well too late. They will at first close the borders, started screening. You may have seen a few attacks, right? Right now, we're in the point of there may be at any day or any time moving forward in the future a preemptive strike against any country, right? And you most likely the major players to send them into shock. So you're looking at China, Russia, America, Europe. Okay, this is what you're looking at. So if you're in any of those places, this is what the Most High promises. And the worst part is, he says, I'm promising this because I'm going to start wiping out the children of Israel until they listen. Listen to what? You need to listen to what I'm telling you. Listen to these laws I'm reading. You need to change your address and change where you allocate your money to so that you can build on where you're going if you're coming here. And if you move to Africa, I guarantee you it's going to move right over there with you.
They're already in line over
do
in
that.
Africa. Don't be fooled. It's already set up for what they're going to do.
This is not going to be a war of, like Afghanistan or, like World War One and World War Two, where the U.S. never got touched. This is different.
Very, very different.
So I'm saying all of this because I need you to improve your ability to reason. I'm trying to give you the reasoning tools. I'm telling you the prescribed outcome of this time, of this action. And I know there are a lot of people with their pots in the fire, and everybody's got something to say, and you're having a hard time separating truth from, somebody's opinion, right? Because people representing their opinions and speculations as the truth. My problem that I have, and this is my problem, this is personal, is after studying this for 8 years, it is held true on a on a on a amazing basis. It's there's nothing spooky about the text. So you're not going to get like magic and miracles and it's a lot of this is really practical.
Yeah.
It's not it's not scripture. This is not a Bible. This is really practical. It's really hands on, and it's like it really is real. Like this is happening. Like this plan here is underway. Now, this is not the World Economic Forum, the WEF, or the Deep States plan. I know you're scared of those. This tells me what they're doing, and then I get to see it later. It already tells me what their plans are and what they're doing and how they're going to do it. But it tells me what I should be doing that I may have success while they're doing what they're doing to set them own selves up for destruction.
Right, because this tells us that there will be war, but it also tells us what our position and what we need to be doing while this is going on. It does not tell you to go and hide out in a mountain or go do this. No, it specifically tells you what your responsibility and your job is to be doing while this is going on around you.
So, what we are supposed to be doing is buying land here. No, I'm not talking about individual plots
No.
because you cannot survive as an individual outside of a country or not native born in that country. There's language barriers, there's business economics, there's a lot of things that are at play. So this is why you have to do it within the community, or why you should. If you want to go off on your own, go ahead. There's a bunch of people already suffering for that decision.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, don't do it. Okay? You need some support. When you're talking about buying land, I want to talk about something that we've said before, and I know it was a bit shocking. We'll get back to that right after this. All right, we're back. So I want to talk about something we said before. So when the Most High called for the harlots and the whores to come, yeah, he's talking about the house of Judah, wherever you are, yes, you women, because that's what you've been,
Yep.
right? If you've known more than two men in your life, two is the limit,
Yes.
right? The first one that you lost your virginity to, that was supposed to be your husband.
Yes.
After that one, the second one was supposed to be your husband. If you've
Yes.
known more than two, you're a harlot and a whoremonger.
Yes.
Okay? After the second one, you were supposed to just sit there and wait until you die or he dies before you could move on.
Yep.
Okay? That's the nature of what the Most High has appointed. So if anybody wanted to know what the count was before you became a whore, it was two. Right? The first one, it was supposed to be an arranged marriage. And if that didn't work out, then the second one is supposed to be your choice.
That's right.
Now, if the first one is your choice and that doesn't work out, you get one more shot just in case you were tricked or deceived. Okay? So that's the limit. But now that you know what the classification of what the Most High is talking about when he says call for the harlots is any woman who's known more than two men. Well, He's calling for you, and he's calling for you to buy land. Why? Because the men don't have their minds straight.
Wow.
They lack reasoning, which is what I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So the men don't have their mind straight. You see, just think about it. You have passport bros, and they're traveling all around the world just to get into a relationship with a woman, and they just want somebody to be submissive. I don't need that to be the focus of my relationship, right? That's just an element.
Right.
That's so small. Like, oh my gosh, that is such a small thing. It can be easily fixed if you can build your community and have self sufficiency, because it's a cultural thing. They're culturally brainwashed into behaving in a certain way. That means it's attached to that country. I've seen I've seen a bajillion women move out the country and instantly change. And you say, what? Why they change when they leave the country? They change when they leave the country because the culture is attached to the country and women are observant.
Mm-hmm.
Women are more observant of culture than men are. Men are more of this, they uphold this, they set the standard of a culture. Women absorb the culture and blend in. If
Mm-hmm.
you take a woman who doesn't have a husband and put her in a community where everybody is married and she is shunned for not being married and being a good wife, she immediately changes and becomes whatever is necessary to be a good wife.
Yes.
It's a cultural thing. If all the women are talking about that they listen to their husband, what they can and can't do, and they're all in agreement, she's not going to lash out and become the great, strong American woman. They're
Mm-mm.
going to look at her like she's crazy. She's going to get ostracized, shunned, and then feel like she needs to move and be somewhere else because these people, they not like her. That's a cultural thing.
Right.
So women can and do have the right to join in and buy land. Now, buying land and developing the land is two different
Different
things.
things. Right.
Okay, so women can't own land. And we're getting ready to talk about that law now with the daughters of Zelophahad.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's take a look. So here's the daughters of Zelophehad in a brief recap. The names of the daughters are Mahila, Noha, Hogila, Milcah, and Tirzah.
Mm-hmm.
And they said to Moses, so we're in Numbers chapter 27 and verse 3, our father died in the wilderness, but he was not among the congregation who murmured and gathered to rebel against Yahweh and the congregation with the congregation of Korah, but died for his own sin. So there's people dying for their own little mistakes and sins, and they're immediately telling Moses, "Listen, this we wasn't involved in that
Right.
situation with Korah. That was disrespectful." Now
Mm.
that situation has happened 40 years ago. We 40 years later.
Right.
Now, these is part of one of the 19 and unders that are going
Mm-hmm.
into the land with Joshua and Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just Joshua and Caleb. So you have
Yes.
Joshua, Caleb, you have
Mm-hmm.
these four women,
No, it's 5 of them.
one, two, three, four, these five women,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you also have Eleazar
Yes.
and Ithamar,
Yes.
right? And
Mm.
so now we're talking about, these people are going into the land, and you say, wow, it wasn't just two. No, it
No.
wasn't just two.
Mm-mm.
So now you're going to learn a principle about the Most High. When the Most High says, none of these
Mm.
will go into the land, I'm only taking those from 19 and up.
Right.
Okay, I mean 19 and under. that's a generalization
Right.
because the Most High will not kill you because you have not sinned. If you sin, the soul that sins, that soul shall die. Of those who have not sinned, if you listen to the instructions, if you listen to the law which I'm teaching you today, death does not have to come to you. Neither do you have to wait and put yourself in peril to test it. If you do that, you're being disobedient and
Obedient.
rebellious. Okay? So they're saying that their father died of his own sin. And he didn't make others to sin. So nor made he others to sin. But he made no male children. So he made his own mistake. It was a personal matter. Just him. And it only affected him. And he did die in the wilderness. And he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be taken away from among his family because he had not a male child? This is a perfectly reasonable question. We have 5 sisters here. Why should our father's name be blotted out because he had no male child? If we are not reckoned as a son and our mother claim, right, or observe the Jabam, our mother will take the portion of our father and our father's brother. But if we be reckoned as a son, give us an inheritance among our brothers, among our father's brethren. So the Jabam, let's get into this. So when the wife, right, the wife of the husband dies, the husband's portion, if he only have one wife, right, that wife will get the husband's portion. Okay? If the man have more than one wife, then the portion is divided among the wives. Okay? Not concubines. This not concubines. All right? This has nothing to do with concubines. So this also, and I have to explain this so you guys get an understanding. Also for Redeemer cases, right? The Redeemer's son is raised up to her ex-husband's name and to his property, not to yours, right? So if I take a woman and she's a Redeemer case, her son is raised up to his father's name and on his father's property. All right? Now, you're going to say, but Rabbi Sheikh, here's where good reasoning says, but Rabbi Sheikh, I never had a husband. I don't know my father's name, and I don't know what we're going to do, what we're going to get, and what about my son? How are we going to reconnect my son? And all of those processes and answers we do have. Okay. There is a special law for this generation, but it requires the women to get married. So the women contribute to buying land and then they get married, right? If you're not a virgin, you and 6 other women, a total of 7, can pick the man that you all agree on and marry him together.
Yes.
And then all of you will take on that man's name, right? Now you say, how is this going to work? Because I guarantee you, the majority of everybody you know, if you participate in this, everybody you know will die. The majority. So each man is receiving a larger portion. And then the more people he have gathered to him, the larger portion he have, so that you, your sons, and your sons' sons will have great and vast portions of land to work, to prosper in, right? And for this generation and this generation only, there is the yoke-a-bed law, the yoke-a-bed miracle. Seeing as how we were born in captivity and we did not know our law, our customs, and our traditions, you will be counted when you take a husband as if none of that ever happened, like unto a virgin again. Not that you were virgin again.
Right.
It's accounted that way
Right.
because you took the lawful process. And that reckoning now is like a virginity. So now you know you are with this man, and this is as your first husband, and nothing in America or whatever country you came from exists.
Our shame is removed.
Your shame will be removed. You don't bring it up. He don't bring it up. Nobody can bring it up again. It's over. Okay?
Yes.
The Jabam. All right. This is one of 4 cases of judgment brought before Moses the prophet, Musa Rasulullah. Okay? Which he resolved in the manner above. He said, of them, some were judgments in different cases, and Moses brought their cause before Yahweh, and Yahweh spake with Moshe, saying, the daughters of Zelophahad have fitly spoken. So the Most High responds to good reasoning. Okay, our father died. His name is not blotted out, right? He didn't reject a redeemer case. This is the punishment of a redeemer case. So a redeemer case, your name is blotted out from the book, right? You don't have a family name. And then you get to remain on your land until the Most High get rid of you, and then your land get absorbed by somebody else. What happened that you know this is true? None of you know the name of Boaz's older brother. You know Boaz's name.
Right.
Well, you know Boaz's nickname, but you don't know his name. But
Right.
you know Boaz's
Story.
Yeah,
his history.
But you don't know the name of his brother.
Right.
It was blotted out. And nobody has been named that since. Right? So, this law of the Redeemer kinsman is to keep the men from shunning and ostracizing the women that come to live the laws, customs, and traditions. If you come to learn the law, live the law with the customs and traditions, this is repentance.
Yes.
So when I say the customs and traditions, you have to learn the customs and traditions of Abraham and Sarah. Okay?
Our father and mother.
Right. You have to learn it. Okay? Along and live the same culture among your brethren, however, it is refined by its own set of rules.
Right.
Most of them are similar.
Yes.
But ours, for us, is more strict.
Yes.
So I don't care what they're doing. We're going to do what we're supposed to do. And so the daughters have spoken fitly. That's with good reasoning. This has been written before me, but they are worthy that it be said of them. So now, this is why their names are saved here, that they are worthy that it be said of them, that they be spoken of. So this is the law of the daughters of Zelophahad.
And it says, Yah says, this hath been written
Before me.
before me.
So now there's a law governing this. It was already written
and established.
and established even before they came.
Right.
So they're coming now to ask a real legitimate practical question and it fulfill a law that the Most High already has established. But Moses don't know about it yet.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Okay? You say Moses don't know about it yet? No, Moses don't know about it yet. Moses is inquiring to get this because from what he has received, it hasn't been deciphered. The layers haven't been revealed. So the Most High is again teaching and revealing the layers in process. Right? He have all the law written on Mount Sinai, but how it lay out, there's a process, a traditional process that has to be done.
The practical of,
Right.
of what has been spoken.
Yes, the practical of what has been spoken.
The hands-on training.
Hands-on training. Meaning you have to come to the point to where you have daughters and then they don't have land, right? And their fathers don't, you're just dealing with the women. So now we're going to give the women their rights. They hear, it's a good question, and you've never seen this before. Admit you don't know. I'm going to tell you. I'll break it down for you. They are worthy that it be said of them, give them possession and inheritance among the brethren of the father, and make over their father's possession unto them. So now the daughters receive the fullness of the father's possession, period. Daughters receive a fullness of the father's possession. So if the father don't have a son, he don't lose his inheritance. You can't take it from the daughters.
Wow.
Okay? Here is the law. And when a son of Israel shall speak and say, a man has died without having a male child, then you shall make over his inheritance to his daughter.
Wow.
Great. We got that part. So now the daughters can have an inheritance. Right? But Rabbi Sheikh, what about that lady with the son that was Egyptian? She wanted an inheritance and they stoned her. A very good point. I'm glad you pointed that out. I'm glad you had some good reasoning. I know that's not what they asked, but I gotta help them out sometimes, If he have no daughter, you shall give his possession to his brothers. So, fatherless children, right? His brothers get his inheritance when he passes. If he has no brothers, you shall give his possession to the brethren of his father. So if the father have no brothers, then it goes to his uncles. But if his father had no brothers, then you shall give his possession to his kinsman who is nearest to him of his family, father's family, to inherit, and this shall be the publication of a decree of judgment to the children of Israel. So this is a written law. It will be published in the land and agriculture ministry so that you put it on the wall and people could come in and see how people get land and who get land depending on their relation and their father's houses. As Yah has commanded Moshe, and Yah said to Moshe, go up to this mount of Ibrahim and survey the land which I give it to the children of Israel. All right, so this is getting ready to go into something else. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to elaborate on something with the daughters of Zelophahad. It will come up later, but I want to say it now, and when it comes up later, we'll refresh.
Okay.
Okay? It was just said that they could have a possession, but there was a limitation placed on women with possessions.
Right.
They must marry neighboring tribesmen.
Hmm.
If they marry, um, if they marry outside of their neighboring tribe and kin, they do not receive,
Mm.
they forfeit the inheritance of the land. Right? So you here, you by yourself, you're entitled to a land inheritance.
Yes.
Right? If you marry another, so just think about it. You, since you're not a virgin, and you
Yes.
get together with seven
Sisters.
sisters, so now each of you seven sisters gets a land inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
The man you marry, he is entitled to his own land
And
inheritance.
yes.
But you marrying him, it now multiply, he receive 8 portions.
Mm. Wow. Like a double portion gets a
You get
wow.
that's you get a large, it's a lot of land, I'm telling you.
Mm-mm.
So that being said,
Mm-hmm.
you start to understand how to grow wealth very rapidly with taking of wives. If you
Yes.
go marry someone outside of your tribe, you
Mm-hmm.
lose your land
And
inheritance.
right.
If you marry any one of the other tribes of Israel, you
Mm-hmm.
forfeit your land inheritance. It's gone.
Yes.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that portion of land will remain with the rest of your household and kin, and another kinsman may pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
If you marry even outside the tribes of Israel, you forfeit
Fit.
all kinds of right of inheritance. Like
Mm.
it gets very deep.
And that goes back to the Egyptian, the
The
woman
woman who
who
married
married
the
the
Egyptian
Egyptian.
man
Yep.
then came out and felt like I do what I want to do, and she ended up getting stoned.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Because she married outside of all of Israel, which
Right.
automatically caused her to lose her portion.
Right. So we'll be back after this.
Mm.
All right. So now picking up now 27 and 12. Go up to this mount of Ibri, right? This is in Oman, Mount Ibra. Okay, and survey the land which I give to the children of Israel, and thou shalt see it, but thou thyself shalt be gathered to thy people, as Aaron thy brother has been gathered, because you were disobedient against my word in the desert of sin, in the congregation at the waters of strife, the waters of contention, to
Mm-hmm.
sanctify me at the waters in their sight. These are the waters of strife, or the waters of contention in the desert of sin. So now the Most High comes to Moses and says, hey, you remember that time? You remember that time when you hit the rock 2 times and the blood came out and then the water came out and you went and called the whole congregation rebels? First of all, I ain't tell you to do none of that. That's what he just said.
That's
So
right.
now, Aaron is gone,
Mm-hmm.
right? Aaron is buried. He's at his place, right? Aaron also buried in Oman. You like, no, you didn't know that. I know everybody think Aaron buried on this side. No,
No.
they buried in Oman. And from Mount Ebra, they were overlooking the land, looking from the east to the west. Okay? In Oman, Mount Ebra. You can look it up. You can Google it. It's still there. Also in Oman is the tomb of Job. They call it Nabi Ayub, his tomb. So Job's tomb is also in Oman. So you know Oman is also part of the land.
Pivotal point.
But I know you kind of upset. I told you. I know you mad because you thought it's over here with just these Jewish people and what they talking about. But because you don't use your passport to actually search out your history, you don't know nothing. You scared.
No, they're just using their passport to search out the women.
They looking for hoes.
Looking for hoes. They
Right, there
looking
you
for
go.
their inheritance.
Not looking for your inheritance to find out where it's home and then to build like I'm doing. You want to do something else and chase women because it's more important that you have a submissive woman than to actually have something for the child that you and the submissive wife is going to make.
Cause the
So,
land ain't lost.
right,
You
you
lost.
are. You lost.
And when you submit, we will be able to see more
Submission.
submission going on here.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody got to submit. You
Everybody.
have to Muslim. That's it. You have
Yes.
to. You don't like it, you don't like it. I don't care. So these are the waters of contention. So the Most High now has reminded Moses of what
He done.
he's done. And Moses spake before Yahweh, saying, May the word of Yahweh, who ruleth over the souls of men, and by whom hath been given the inspiration of the spirit of all flesh, appoint a faithful man over the congregation. So now Moses accepts
Yeah. His outcome.
his outcome, which is now his own death. Who may go out before them and to set battle in array, and may come in before them that he battle, who may bring them out from the hand of their enemies, and bring them into the land of Israel, that the congregation of Yahweh may not be without the wise, nor go astray among the nations as sheep who go astray, having no shepherd. So now Moses prays not only for this generation, right, that he knows is going into the land by war with Joshua, but he also prays for the next generation, our generation, who have never known a shepherd, and that the leader of the congregation be wise, right? So that you don't go astray like sheep with no shepherd. And Yahweh said unto Moses, Take to thee Joshua Bar-Nun, a man upon whom abideth the spirit of prophecy from before Yahweh, and lay thy hand upon him, and make him stand before Eleazar the priest and the whole congregation, and instruct him in their presence. And thou shalt confer a ray of thy brightness upon him, that all the congregation of the sons of Israel may be obedient to him. So now the Most High is transferring in front of the congregation, right, the kingship from Moses to Joshua, right? So the prophet king is now going to be Joshua. Now, what does Joshua do? And he shall minister before Eleazar the priest. So Eleazar, is with now Joshua, and they're observing this together. So he has to provide and minister to Eleazar. Eleazar is ministering on behalf of the congregation. It's not how you thought it was. And when any matter is hidden from him, he shall inquire for him before Yah by Uriah and the Thumiah. So now when Joshua have a question, he's telling them the order. You have to go to Eleazar. We have to make all of these sacrifices, sit down and eat, and you to wear the Uriah and the Thumiah, and we will see literally what the Most High is saying and write it down. We will see and hear. This is an instruction. According to the word of Eleazar the priest, they shall go forth to battle and come in to do judgment, and all the sons of Israel with him, even all the congregation. And Moshe did as Yah commanded him, and took Joshua and caused him to stand before Eleazar the priest and all the congregation, and laid his hand upon him and instructed him, as Yah commanded Moses. And Yah spake with Moses, saying, instruct the children of Israel, and say to them, the priest may eat of my oblation, the bread of the order of my table, but that which you offer upon my altar may no man eat. Is there not a fire that will consume it? And it shall be accepted before me as a pleasant smell. Sons of Israel, my people, be admonished to offer it from the firstlings on the Shabbat, an oblation before me in its time. So now here's a special instruction. It says, when you make an offering, the portion that is to go to the priest, when you start to reinstate the sacrifice, if it is too much for the priest to eat, or there is no priest present, burn it. Let the fire burn it. Right? So this is something we will reinstate here in the future. Right? The priest have his portion, whatever he don't finish eating, it's just burnt. Nobody eat it. Right? So you say, whatever the priest don't eat, yeah, he gonna get his whole portion. Right? He's promised the right shoulder. Right? There's a left shoulder. There's other ribs and legs and other parts. He don't eat his leg. Hey man, I don't know what to tell you. You better eat your leg. I'm full. You better put it back in the fire and burn it then. That's it, you full. Tomorrow's portion is for tomorrow.
Right.
So there is a reinstatement policy so that it's what's for the priest is for the priest and only for the priest. And we do have a priest, so don't worry about it. You're just going to know, like, if you see the priest burning good food, it's not wasteful.
Right.
There is an instruction
that he has to obey.
And say to them, this is the order of the oblation you shall offer before Yah. Okay? 2 lambs of the year unblemished daily, a perpetual burnt offering. The one lamb thou shalt perform in the morning to make atonement for the sins of the night. And the second lamb thou shalt perform between the suns to atone for the sins of the day. So again, the second lamb is prepared between the hours of 3 to 5 p.m. So one is done in the morning. This is the sunrise. So when they say the Fajr prayer, by the time they making the call to pray, the lamb done and it's cooked and the priest will eat. After that, there's one in the evening. So the first thing you have to establish is the perpetual, the two lambs daily. That means in order to even begin sacrifices, you're going to have a minimum, just to begin sacrificing 104 lambs. And that's set aside for the perpetuals.
So to begin the perpetual,
You need 104. Now you understand that that's the minimum. The actual instruction is you cannot offer the Most High until you have 200.
200.
Is the math mathing? So if I have 200 lambs, I can then begin the perpetual sacrifices.
So this is why we have to have our own
You have to have your
livestock.
own livestock. And that's just the perpetual. So from flour, the next step is to build up to the perpetual.
Okay.
From the perpetual, I can build up to keeping the Shabbat with lambs and oxen and goats and everything else. Each one have a step. You're not going to get everything
At one time.
at one time.
So we first start out with the flour, growing our own wheat and barley, and then we progress.
So now you understand. Listen, so to begin, you're asking.
Yes, sir.
So first, you have to buy a number of lots of land, right? So you need a supermarket with residential spaces. What's that for? That's to bring our food to market, right? Then you're going to need to buy an already prepared farm. So you need your olive trees, your fruit trees, your pomegranates to start producing for yourself your own oils, right? Then you're going to need a blank field. This is when you're going to start your wheat and your barley, right? You also, in every space, you're going to need residences for people to live and work, right? And so now these things work in tandem. Our products from our farms are being sold in our supermarket. So we're going direct to market. You understand?
Yes, sir.
You're going to need bees on the farm, right? So you have your honey productions coming from the farm anyway. So you're always maintaining that so you have honey. So we have a number of products from farming going to farm. The next farm you're going to need is a livestock farm. We're going to have to start raising sheep. If you're raising sheep, you're still growing honey, you're still growing your fields. You still have to grow wheat to feed them and graze them. You're still going to need corn. So just because you buy another farm for livestock, it doesn't mean that that's the only livestock there.
Right.
You'll probably buy another 4 or 5 acres, put the livestock on one, and begin a transfer process so that, okay, now there's wheat here. After you harvest the wheat, you put the crop the animals on that side while you water some more wheat on the other side, and you start a rotation. So you have wheat, barley, you're gonna need corn, and this also makes what we call maklota, which is the animal feed. So this farm is growing the feed for the animals, and the animals are there,
Right.
right? So
Right.
this is just the 4 or 5 beginning steps.
Steps. Yes.
And so now you're talking about herding animals, you're talking sheep, you're talking goats, and you're talking cows.
Yeah, oxen.
You know what I'm saying? So now you start to have more of a farm herding going on. But the more animals you're raising, the larger the land parcel needs to be. So very quickly, it can go from 4 acres to 10, 12 acres of land to suffice the livestock and their care. Also, the housing facility for the livestock. They don't just live outside on an open field.
Right, right.
There has to be barning and sheltering for them in the nighttime to keep from thieves and the weather. You see, so they go out and they come in, and you have to have some protection for the animals.
Okay.
Okay, so, and all of these have to be bred up to sufficiency before
Right.
you can begin sacrificing. You need the carts to move oxen.
Yes.
So the logistics, carts, trucks, donkeys, wagons, the logistics to move stuff around,
Right.
it become more. So you're going to lose some to just the logistics.
Right.
The oxen that know how to pull, there's an oxen that can't pull at all. It's set apart.
Yeah.
There's logistics involved. And so you have to move around, and these may be better in different areas. So again, now you have people transport and transportation of supplies, right? The people in the supermarket is in a metropolitan area. The farms are not.
That's right.
So now, we have to have people moving trucks, which is why the housing is imperative.
Yes, it is.
So we have to have the housing for the people. And these are jobs that people are doing.
Right.
There's people coming in and we're overviewing paperwork. There's people overviewing management. Everybody's getting their hands on. Nobody is better or less than the other. Your job is of equal importance. Your level is your level. But everybody is living off of the same provision.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, understood.
And all of that just came from the daily perpetual burnt offering,
Yeah.
which comes with coming into the land,
Yes.
which Moses is talking to not only Joshua's generation,
But
ours. This is talking to me. Right? If he was talking to you, maybe you would have understood the instruction and come here and did it. And a tenth of 3 seahs of wheat and flour as a mincha mingled with beaten olive oil, the fourth of a hin. So again, the flour and the olive oil. So you have to buy that farm as well.
right.
You have to have your own olive oil. Anything the Most High required from you, this is why we're saying I need $36 million.
Right.
Right? There's so much conversion has to be made and so much that has to be sitting here for the people to make transition. Right?
Yes, sir.
Even if I don't get it, I'm still make it.
No, that's right.
Because if I don't get 36 million, it just means that 36 million of us didn't contribute a dollar. There's hundreds of millions of us. But 36 out of hundreds of millions didn't contribute $1. Right? So when the Most High start wiping you out, you could think about your own sin and why,
Yeah.
how you got into that situation and how you heard and didn't do. It is a perpetual burnt offering, such as was ordained to be offered at Mount Sinai, to be received with favor as an oblation before Yah. And its libation shall be the fourth of a hin for one lamb from the vessels of the house of the sanctuary. So it has to come from you.
Yes.
But if old wine may not be found, bring wine of 40 days to pour out before Yah.
Yeah, so we have to have our own wine production and everything.
And the wine just has to be 40
For
days old.
Yeah.
This is another thing. So now, and it's poured out. It's not, you don't take it there and you drink it.
Right.
You can drink it at home, but it's poured out before Yah as an offering. So we have to make our own wine. And the second lamb thou shalt perform between the sons according to the same presentation of the morning, and according to its oblation thou shalt make the offering that it may be accepted with favor before Yah. But on the Sabbath day, 2 lambs of the year without blemish, and 2/10 of flour mixed with olive oil for a mincha and its libation. On the Sabbath thou shalt make a Sabbath burnt sacrifice in addition to the perpetual. So there's 2 lambs made on Shabbat.
Right.
And its libation. And at the beginning of your month you shall offer a burnt sacrifice before Yah, 2 bullocks without mixture, 1 ram, lambs of the year 7, unblemished. So these are 7-year-old lambs, right? And 2 bullocks that don't even give their year, so they have to be of full maturity. I know cows, it takes them a while to mature.
So this beginning of your months. So each month there's this offering.
At the beginning of your month, yes.
Wow.
All right.
Yes.
So there's one for the first day of the month. There's a sacrifice for the first day of the month, not a holiday, but the first day of the month. There's a sacrifice for the new moons.
Yes.
There's a sacrifice for the Shabbat. Okay? And we haven't even gotten to the feast day yet.
Right.
All right? We're going to stop here and pick this up. We're in chapter 28 already. The Most High is still talking to Moses, but we'll continue with the restoration of the sacrifices and its orderings tomorrow. Because we still have to get all this stuff. Reading about it, hearing about it, you have not yet done anything. You have to give until we reach sufficiency to out and out buy what we need to, cash, and then start your migrations to get here. All righty? We'll see you guys tomorrow, one step at a time, one day at a time.
One.